Hi, and welcome to another video of the listening practice series on my channel in English with Lisa. The short stories in these videos are all created and narrated by me. It's my voice you hear, not that of an AI, artificial intelligence program. This listening series is entirely in English, and it's separated in playlists of different levels, from A1 all the way up to C1 and C2. So, let's get started. Grab a notebook for any new vocabulary, get comfortable, and enjoy today's story. Welcome to today's short story, The City Under the Ice. Chapter 1, The Legend. Marcus Reed had always loved stories about lost cities. When he was a child, his grandmother would tell him tales about places that disappeared long ago. His favorite was about a city hidden under ice far to the north. "They say it holds machines that could change the world," his grandmother would whisper. "The people who lived there knew secrets we have forgotten. But they also say a guardian keeps watch, ready to stop anyone who tries to find those secrets." Marcus would listen with wide eyes, imagining the frozen city with its tall buildings and strange machines. 20 years later, Marcus was no longer a child. He was now an explorer who had traveled to many places around the world. He had seen ancient ruins in jungles and climbed mountains where few people had ever gone. But he had never forgotten his grandmother's stories. One cold winter day, Marcus was drinking coffee in a small town in northern Canada. The town was the last stop before the empty icelands that stretched all the way to the North Pole. He was reading an old book when he found something that made his heart beat faster. The book told about explorers who had gone north 100 years ago. They wrote about seeing strange lights under the ice. They also found small metal objects that no one could explain. The objects had symbols that matched no known language. "This can't be just a story," Marcus said to himself. "There must be truth behind it." He looked at a map that showed the vast empty areas to the north. Most of it was just white space. No one had properly explored those places because the weather was too dangerous. Marcus made his decision that day. He would find the city under the ice. It took him 3 months to get ready. He bought warm clothes, food that would last for weeks, and all the tools he would need to travel across ice. He also found 2 people who agreed to help him: Lee, a scientist who studied ice, and Thomas, a local guide who knew the northern lands better than anyone. "You know this is probably just a waste of time, right?" Lee said when they met. "Lost cities don't just hide for thousands of years." "I have proof," Marcus said, showing Lee the strange metal piece he had found in a museum. It was small and shaped like a triangle. Strange blue lines covered its surface, and they seemed to glow faintly in the dark. Lee looked at it carefully. "I've never seen anything like this. Where did it come from?" "It was found on the ice 100 years ago," Marcus explained. "And there are more stories like this. People have found strange things in the ice for centuries." Thomas, who had been quiet until then, finally spoke. My people have stories too. They say there is a place where the ice glows blue at night. No one goes there because strange things happen to those who do. Some never come back. Marcus nodded. That's where we need to go. The next morning, they loaded their equipment onto 2 large sleds. They had enough supplies for 3 weeks. If they didn't find anything by then, they would have to turn back. As they moved away from the small town and into the empty white landscape, Marcus felt both excited and afraid. The city might be real, but so might the guardian his grandmother had warned about. Chapter 1 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. What made Marcus believe the city under the ice might be real? A. A dream he had about the city. B. An old book with stories about strange lights and objects found in the north. C. A map given to him by his grandmother. The correct answer is B. An old book with stories about strange lights and objects found in the north. Number 2. Who agreed to help Marcus on his journey? A. His grandmother and a local guide. B. 2 scientists who studied history. C. Lee, a scientist who studied ice, and Thomas, a local guide. The correct answer is C. Lee, a scientist who studied ice, and Thomas, a local guide. Number 3. How long did Marcus plan for the expedition to last? A. 1 week. B. 2 weeks. C. 3 weeks. The correct answer is C. 3 weeks. Number 4. What special object did Marcus show to Lee? A. An old photograph of the ice city. B. A strange metal piece shaped like a triangle with blue lines. C. A map with the exact location of the city. The correct answer is B. A strange metal piece shaped like a triangle with blue lines. Chapter 2. The Journey. The first few days of their journey were difficult, but not dangerous. They traveled across flat ice fields, pulling their heavy sleds. The sun shone brightly during the day, making the ice sparkle like millions of tiny diamonds. At night, they set up their tent and huddled together for warmth. Lee took samples of the ice every day. "This ice is very old," she said on the 4th day. "Some of it might be thousands of years old." Thomas kept looking at the horizon. "We are getting close to the place from the stories. We should be careful now." On the 5th day, the weather changed. Dark clouds covered the sky and strong winds began to blow. Snow fell so thick that they could barely see a few meters ahead. "We need to stop," Thomas shouted over the wind. "This storm could last for days." They quickly set up their tent and moved inside. The wind howled around them, shaking the walls of their shelter. For 2 days they were trapped by the storm. They played cards and told stories to pass the time. Do you really think we'll find something? Lee asked Marcus on the second night of the storm. Or are we just chasing stories? I believe it's real, Marcus said. He took out his grandmother's old journal. Look at these drawings. My grandmother never came here, but she collected all the stories she could find. All of them talk about the same things: a city under the ice, advanced machines, and a guardian. What kind of guardian? Thomas asked. Marcus turned to a page that showed a strange figure. It was tall and thin, with a body that seemed to be made of ice and metal. No one knows for sure. Some say it's a machine. Others think it's something else entirely. The storm finally ended on the morning of its third day. When they stepped outside, they found that the landscape had completely changed. The flat ice was now broken into large hills and deep valleys. The storm changed our path, Thomas said with a worried look. I'm not sure where we are anymore. Lee checked her GPS device. That's strange. It's not working properly. It keeps showing different locations. Marcus felt a strange feeling in his stomach. Were they lost? But then he saw something that made him forget his worry. In the distance, where the sun hit the ice at just the right angle, there was a faint blue glow. Look, there, he pointed. That's it. That's what the stories talk about. They quickly packed their equipment and headed toward the blue glow. As they got closer, they could see that it was coming from underneath a large ice hill. The blue light seemed to be shining through the ice from something below. This ice is different, Lee said as she touched it. It's clearer than normal ice, and there's something about these patterns. She pointed to faint lines that ran through the ice like tiny rivers. They look like the lines on that metal piece you showed us, Thomas said. Marcus nodded, his heart racing with excitement. We need to find a way down. There must be an entrance somewhere. They spent the rest of the day searching around the ice hill. The sun was starting to set when Thomas called out, I found something. Marcus and Lee rushed over. Thomas was standing next to what looked like a crack in the ice, but when they looked closer, they could see that it wasn't a natural crack. The edges were too straight, too perfect. It's a door, Marcus whispered. A door made of ice. They worked together to clear the snow around the crack. As they did, they revealed more of what was clearly an entrance. Symbols were carved into the ice around it, the same strange symbols that were on the metal piece Marcus had found. How do we open it? Lee asked. Marcus took out the small metal triangle from his pocket. As he held it near the door, the blue lines on both the metal and the ice began to glow more brightly. There was a low humming sound, and then, slowly, the ice door began to slide open. Cold air rushed out from the dark opening, carrying with it a strange smell, like metal and electricity. We found it, Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. We really found it. They stood at the entrance, looking down at a long tunnel that led deep under the ice. Blue lights along the walls turned on one by one, lighting a path into the darkness. The Guardian, Thomas said suddenly. If the city is real, then the Guardian might be real too. Marcus nodded. We'll be careful, but we've come too far to turn back now." With flashlights in hand and their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement, they stepped through the door and began their descent into the city under the ice. Chapter 2 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. What happened on the 5th day of their journey? A. They found the entrance to the city. B. They ran out of food. C. They were caught in a bad storm. The correct answer is C. They were caught in a bad storm. Number 2. How did the team know they were getting close to the city? A. Their GPS showed the exact location. B. They saw a blue glow coming from under the ice. C. Thomas recognized landmarks from his people's stories. The correct answer is B. They saw a blue glow coming from under the ice. Number 3. What happened when Marcus held the metal triangle near the ice door? A. The door exploded. B. Nothing happened. C. The blue lines began to glow and the door opened. The correct answer is C. The blue lines began to glow and the door opened. Number 4. What did the opened entrance reveal? A. A staircase going down. B. A long tunnel with blue lights along the walls. C. A large room filled with machines. The correct answer is B. A long tunnel with blue lights along the walls. Chapter 3. The Frozen City. The tunnel led them deep beneath the surface. The walls were made of a strange material, not quite ice, not quite metal. The blue lights guided their way, turning on ahead of them and turning off behind them, as if they knew exactly where the explorers were going. "This is impossible," Lee whispered as she touched the walls. "This technology shouldn't exist, especially not something that still works after being frozen for who knows how long." After walking for what felt like hours, the tunnel opened up into a vast space. What they saw made them stop and stare in amazement. It was a city, a real city, frozen in time under the ice. Tall buildings stretched upward, their tops touching the ceiling of ice far above. Streets ran between the buildings, and strange vehicles sat frozen where they had been left. Everything was preserved perfectly, as if the city had been flash frozen in an instant. "I can't believe it," Lee said, her voice filled with wonder. "You were right, Marcus. It's all real." The blue glow they had seen from the surface came from lights that still worked throughout the city. Some flickered weakly, but others shone brightly and steady. "Look at these buildings," Marcus said as they walked down what must have been a main street. "They don't look like anything built by any known ancient civilization." The buildings were sleek and curved, made of materials that looked like a mixture of metal and stone. Windows were made of a clear substance that wasn't glass, and everywhere There were the same blue lines they had seen on the metal triangle, running through the buildings and the streets like veins. Who were these people? Thomas wondered aloud. And what happened to them? They decided to enter one of the buildings. The door slid open as they approached, startling them. The power still works, Lee said in disbelief. After all this time. Inside, they found rooms filled with objects they couldn't understand. There were devices that looked somewhat like computers, but far more advanced. Tables that seemed to be made of light. Chairs that adjusted their shape as Marcus sat in one. This technology is beyond anything we have today, Lee said as she carefully examined one of the devices. These people were far more advanced than us. In one room, they found what looked like a library. Instead of books, there were small crystal cubes that glowed when touched. When Marcus picked one up, images appeared in the air above it, moving pictures that showed people using strange machines. I think these are instructions, Marcus said. They're showing how their technology worked. They spent hours exploring the building, finding more and more wonders. They discovered what seemed to be living quarters, with beds and kitchen areas. There were bathrooms with plumbing systems that still worked, and everywhere there were signs of a civilization that had mastered technology far beyond modern understanding. But where did these people go? Thomas asked as they moved to another building. There are no bodies, no signs of battle or disaster. It's like they just left, Lee agreed. But why would they leave such an advanced city? As they explored deeper into the city, they found larger buildings that seemed to be important. One had a dome roof and contained what looked like meeting halls. Another held rows of the strange vehicles they had seen in the streets. Then they came to the largest building of all. It stood in the center of the city, towering above all the others. Blue light pulsed strongly from within it. This must be the main building, Marcus said. Maybe we'll find answers inside. The entrance was grand, with tall doors that opened automatically as they approached. Inside was a vast hall with a ceiling that seemed to show the sky, not the ice above them, but a real sky with stars and a moon. It's a projection, Lee said, staring upward, but it feels so real. At the center of the hall stood a large platform. As they approached it, blue light gathered and formed a shape, a human-like figure made of light. Welcome, the figure said, in a voice that sounded both male and female. You are the first visitors in 12,000 years. The three explorers stood frozen in shock. The figure was talking to them in their own language. What are you? Marcus finally managed to ask. I am the keeper, the figure replied. I am the guide and guardian of this place, which was once called Lumeria. What happened to the people who lived here? Lee asked. The keeper's light flickered slightly. They left. The great ice came, and they could not stop it. They built this shell to protect their city and its knowledge. Then they left to find new homes across the seas. But that would have been during the last ice age, Lee said, her scientific mind racing. That's more than 10,000 years ago. Yes, the keeper said simply. The people of Lumeria lived long before your civilizations began. They left their knowledge here, hoping that one day, when others were ready, it would be found and used again. Marcus stepped forward. What kind of knowledge? Everything, the keeper said. How to create clean energy, how to heal any disease, how to live in harmony with the natural world, but also, the figure paused, knowledge that could destroy as well as create. That is why I remain as guardian. Not all who find this place have good intentions. Suddenly, the blue lights throughout the city flickered, and the keeper looked up sharply. Something is wrong, it said. Others have found the entrance. They followed you here. Chapter 3 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. What surprised Li about the city? A. It was much smaller than they expected. B. The technology still worked after thousands of years. C. It was made entirely of ice. The correct answer is B. The technology still worked after thousands of years. Number 2. What did they find in what looked like a library? A. Paper books about the city's history. B. Maps showing where the people went. C. Small crystal cubes that showed moving pictures when touched. The correct answer is C. Small crystal cubes that showed moving pictures when touched. Number 3. What did the explorers notice about the people who had lived in the city? A. They seemed to have left suddenly without signs of disaster. B. They had all died from a terrible disease. C. They had been killed in a war. The correct answer is A. They seem to have left suddenly without signs of disaster. Number 4. Who or what was the keeper? A. A robot left to guard the city. B. The last surviving person from the city. C. A figure made of light that served as guide and guardian. The correct answer is C. A figure made of light that served as guide and guardian. Chapter 4. The Guardian's Choice. What do you mean, others followed us? Marcus asked, a cold feeling of fear spreading through him. The keeper waved a hand, and a section of the wall changed to show an image of the entrance tunnel. 3 figures dressed in black were making their way down, carrying weapons and equipment. Who are they? Thomas asked. I do not know them, the keeper said, but they carry devices designed to capture and store data. They seek the knowledge of Lumeria, but I sense they do not wish to use it for good. Li looked worried. We weren't as careful as we should have been. Someone must have tracked our expedition. Marcus remembered hearing rumors about a private company that had been searching for ancient technology. They had money and resources far beyond what Marcus and his friends had. They must have been watching and waiting for someone like Marcus to find the way in. "What do we do?" Thomas asked. The keeper's light pulsed. "I am the guardian of this place. I can seal the entrance, but the intruders are already inside. I can activate the city's defenses, but that would put you in danger as well." Marcus thought quickly. "Is there another way out? A back door?" "Yes," the keeper said. "There is another exit that leads to the surface far from where you entered. But before you leave, you must make a choice." The figure of light moved to the central platform. A section opened, and from inside rose a small pedestal. On it sat a crystal cube larger than the ones they had found in the library. "This contains the core knowledge of Lumeria," the keeper explained. "The most important discoveries and inventions. It can be removed from the city, but only by those I judge worthy." "And you think we're worthy?" Lee asked. "You came seeking knowledge, not power," the keeper said. "You approached with respect, not greed. But the choice must be yours. You can take this knowledge to your world, but doing so means great responsibility. Or you can leave it here, and I will seal the city once more, perhaps for another 12,000 years." Marcus looked at his friends. This was more than he had ever hoped to find. The knowledge in that crystal could change the world, cure diseases, solve energy problems, help fix the damage humans had done to the planet. But in the wrong hands, it could also cause great harm. "We need to decide quickly," Thomas said, glancing at the wall that showed the intruders getting closer. "I think we should take it," Lee said after a moment. "We found this place for a reason. If we leave the knowledge here, those people, or others like them, will keep looking. Eventually, someone will find it again, and they might not have good intentions." Marcus nodded slowly. "I agree, but we need to be careful about how we share this knowledge with the world." He turned to the keeper. "We'll take it, and we promise to use it wisely." The keeper seemed to study them for a long moment. Then it nodded. "Very well. Take the crystal. But know this. It will only work for you three. If others try to use it, they will find nothing but an empty cube." Marcus carefully picked up the crystal. It was surprisingly light and warm to the touch. As soon as he held it, he felt a strange connection, as if the knowledge inside was reaching out to him. "Now you must go," the keeper said urgently. "The intruders are almost here. I will show you the way out and then deal with them." "What will you do?" Thomas asked. "I will protect the city as I have always done," the keeper replied. "Some knowledge will remain here, but the most dangerous secrets will be with you. Use them well." A new doorway opened in the wall of the hall. "This passage will take you to the surface," the keeper explained. "Hurry now." They gathered their equipment quickly. Before they left, Marcus turned back to the keeper. "Thank you," he said. "We won't let you down." The figure of light bowed slightly. "I believe you won't. Now go." They ran down the new passage, which sloped upward toward the surface. Behind them, they heard alarms beginning to sound throughout the city. The blue lights flickered and turned red. The Guardian is activating the defenses, Lee said as they ran. After several minutes of climbing, they reached another ice door that opened as they approached. They stepped out onto the surface, far from where they had entered. The night sky spread above them, filled with stars and the dancing colors of the northern lights. A low rumble came from beneath their feet. The ice shook slightly. "What's happening?" Thomas asked. "I think the city is sealing itself," Marcus said. They watched as the ground where they had emerged smoothed over, erasing any sign of an entrance. The rumbling continued for a few minutes and then stopped. The night became quiet again. "Do you think those people made it out?" Lee asked. "I don't know," Marcus answered honestly, but the keepers seemed pretty determined to protect the city. They made their way back to their sleds, which the keeper had told them they would find nearby. As they prepared to head back south, Marcus held the crystal cube carefully. "What will we do with it?" Thomas asked. Marcus looked at the cube, which glowed softly in the darkness. "We'll start slowly. Learn from it first, then share the knowledge bit by bit, starting with the things the world needs most: clean energy, medical cures, ways to clean the environment." "We'll need help," Lee said. "People we can trust." Marcus nodded. "Yes, but we have time. This knowledge has waited 12,000 years. We can take a little time to make sure we do this right." As they started their journey back, Marcus looked over his shoulder one last time at the vast ice field. Somewhere beneath it lay the city of Lumeria, now sealed once more against those who would misuse its secrets. He thought about his grandmother and her stories. She had been right all along. There was a city under the ice, with technology beyond imagination and the Guardian to protect it. But now the Guardian had a new form, the three of them, carrying the most precious knowledge of that lost civilization into the modern world. It was a huge responsibility, but as the crystal glowed warmly in his pack, Marcus felt ready for the challenge. The city under the ice had changed their lives forever, and soon it would change the world. Chapter 4 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. Who followed Marcus and his friends into the city? A. More scientists who wanted to study the city. B. 3 figures in black carrying weapons and equipment. C. Government agents who wanted to close the site. The correct answer is B. 3 figures in black carrying weapons and equipment. Number 2. What choice did the keeper give to Marcus and his friends? A. Stay in the city forever or leave with nothing. B. Take the crystal cube with core knowledge or leave it in the city. C. Help fight the intruders or escape while they could. The correct answer is B. Take the crystal cube with core knowledge or leave it in the city. Number 3. What was special about the crystal cube they took? A. It would only work for Marcus, Lee, and Thomas. B. It would explode if anyone else touched it. C. It needed special equipment to read the information. The correct answer is A. It would only work for Marcus, Lee, and Thomas. Number 4. What did Marcus plan to do with the knowledge from the crystal? A. Sell it to the highest bidder. B. Keep it secret forever. C. Share it slowly, starting with the things the world needs most. The correct answer is C. Share it slowly, starting with the things the world needs most. The end. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notifications bell. This isn't an artificial intelligence. The story was narrated by In English with Lisa. I'm a native speaking teacher, and this is my real voice. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I love hearing from all of you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications bell so you never miss a new lesson. Plus, you'll help my channel grow, and you'll give me the possibility to create other videos that you can watch for free. See you soon. Bye.